I'm imagining, seeing as you and David seem to be working in tandem here, that you were heavily consulted and involved in the documentary and must be quite pleased with how it reflects your father's life story and career, Roberto.
Absolutely. I think David had a tremendous task to be able to thread and put together so many elements of a great story. There's so many stories within the story that he had to make sure that he kind of find a thread that would at least show as much as he could of my father's life, and he was able to do that.
Well, he was able to do that, and I didn't know it took 6 years. But I'm also sure, and David, you're still on the line. I want to ask you this while Roberto is here. You must have found some things that you never thought of when you heard the name Roberto Clemente. You know, I mean, there are stories within stories. What was one of them that really was kind of like, wow, I didn't know that about Roberto Clemente? It stood out to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest, honestly, well, I'll tell you, one of the best ones was in film. Clemente was signing autographs after a game in Philadelphia. He saw a young high school girl and her dad there, and she was real shy. So he just went up and offered to give her an autograph, and she said thank you in Spanish. She said gracias, Senor Clemente. She had just started learning Spanish in high school, and they just started talking. And then all of a sudden, someone came up and said, "Hey, Roberto, the team bus for the airport left." And he was stuck, and the girl, whose name was Carol, said, wait, my dad, he'll give you a ride to the airport. And through that crazy situation, they became friends and lifelong friends. And their families just became lifelong friends. And that story, honestly, that moment where Clemente saw this shy high schooler who was too afraid to come and ask for an autograph, and then he sought her out and said, "Hey, you need an autograph. Here you go." Like he was always looking for the outsider. He was always looking for the people on the margins, and just seeking to show them kindness. And that was just so, that story, and there's several like that in the film that just are so deeply emotional and moving to me.
For Roberto Jr., I would imagine, although I could be wrong, that a lot of different people have wanted to document your dad's life, either via, print or film like this. What made you take David's pitch?
There have been some documentaries prior, but I think this one in particular, David really wanted the family really telling the story, being able to be involved in the production of it. And it's the first time that we got involved with the production of this nature as well. And like I said before, I mean, he had a tough job in being able to get as many of those stories, and there's so many stories that were left out because there's not much room, but of the impact that people don't know. And one in particular that I'll very quickly share is that was very much intricate part of starting the Players Association with Marvin Miller. And those things like that, are very impactful that today still are making great impact for the today's players.
Yeah, I mean, people forget about that, but he was instrumental in getting that going because he was looking out for everyone else who may not have been in his stature, but people below him, just like David said with the story with Carol. Was that her name? So,
Carol, yes.
So, Roberto, I want to ask you this about your father. What if you had to think one thing about his playing ability? I just talked to Joe about it. I watched the throws that he made, and so many of them were just ridiculous. What's the one thing about his game that people don't know or haven't known or haven't talked about that we should talk about more to celebrate Roberto Clemente?
Wow. I mean, if you're talking about baseball side,
yeah,
I mean, on the personal side, there are two words apart for me, because for me, baseball's secondary to what the name Clemente means. When you hear the name Clemente, the first thing that comes is actually how he lived and how he died, helping others. And obviously there's a lot of baseball fans that, they want to talk about numbers and what he did on the field. But he was a perfectionist. He knew every corner of every ballpark. He would take time and know how the ball would ricochet in every ballpark. And that corner was his office. So he would prepare. I mean, like no one else could even think of taking the time to make sure that he already knew where to stand, wait for the ball, and understanding who was running, turn around and use that bazooka of an arm to gun them out. I mean, I think it was a very smart, very, very high baseball IQ that people don't talk about.
We have Roberto Clemente Jr. and David Altrogge on the line. David, the documentarian for the upcoming premiere of Clemente, which is September 23rd on the History Channel. It'll be in theaters around the country beginning September 12th. Right here in Pittsburgh, you can go to www.clemente.film. This one's for both of you. It picks up on Bob's question. For Roberto Jr., all I can do is watch some of the clips and read everything there is about your dad and listen to stories from people like Bob who saw him play. I want to know the one play that stands out in his career from you. I've heard about the walk-off inside the park grand slam I think he had.
Yes.
I've seen the throws. And also for David, if you could go after that, the one piece of film, the one clip that maybe you hadn't seen before that you were just blown away by. Roberto, go ahead.
Well, it's kind of funny. I believe the play, I can only say I've had the description of this play because Bob Watson, the old Bob Watson and Joe Morgan with the Astros, just happened at the Astrodome. And all I have is a picture or a drawing of Dad flying through the air in the Astrodome. As a kid, I was looking at the picture of the caricature, and I'm like, wow, what does this mean? Years later, I'm talking to Bob Watson. We become partners, and he's telling me the story, and it clicked because it connected that caricature with the story he told me that Dad actually went up the wall in the Astrodome, and he caught it was a home run. So he robbed him with a home run and to end the game. But he was so high up in the air, he said this guy's going to die when he comes down. There's no way. He's that high up in the air. He was flying. He said he just jumped up of the wall and he made the play. The game was over. He said, I've never seen a play like that, but I always remember that caricature and trying to figure out why was Dad flying. And that was because of that play that people, Joe Morgan and Bob Watson told me about.
And David?
I mean, the best clip, I think, one of the best clips that we found, and it was an audio clip. Roberto was on the road when Roberto Clemente Jr., who's on the call with us, his first son was born. He was on the road playing baseball in Pittsburgh, and Roberto was born in Puerto Rico. And so he had a friend, Ramiro Martinez, go to the hospital with a tape recorder to record Roberto Jr.'s first cry. And that clip, I mean, it's in the film, and I mean, it's beautiful, man. That's like to hear Roberto Sr. hear Roberto Jr.'s first cry on a phone call. It's incredible.
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty awesome. And back in those days, I guess that's how you had to do it, right? You couldn't just say, okay, I'm going to go on parental leave here. I have to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
Roberto, what is throughout this whole situation, I've gotten to know your mother a little bit over seeing her, just her role in all of this when, his life, because I know Vera played a big role in his life and what he became as a person, I think, more than, the ball player is the ball player. But what did she do for him?
Oh, I mean, from the security, she was a very smart woman. I mean, she worked at a bank when they met. She was actually working at a bank, and she helped not only the finances and being able to really bounce ideas off of her. He counted on her. She was a part of his team. They were a team, and everything that he did, he consulted with her. The one thing that she never did was was able to sit down and say, Vera, I am doing these things, and I want to leave early. I want to die young. I want you to sit down because I want to show you what I'm planning, what I'm doing here. And she would always say, "Don't say those words." Always, don't talk about dying young. But obviously, history, tells a story. He was right about leaving us early, and she took the torch. I mean, we owe her that legacy that today is stronger than ever. We owe her that because of her work and her grace. The love for humanity and how she really carried that torch on his and her behalf.